Call the meeting to order. And Jen, would you take roll, please?
Commissioner Waldner.
Here.
Commissioner Thone.
Here.
Commissioner Corbin. Commissioner Johnson. Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you the agenda for this evening, but we've been asked to remove number 11. So I need a motion in that to adopt the agenda as amended.
Make a motion that we adopt the agenda canceling number 11.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under appearances and acknowledgments, acknowledge an alcohol beverage license applications and set a date of hearing for the 2018-2019 malt beverage for Cesar Cortez, Dolgan, Midwest LLC, Dollar General Store, number 10937, Sobret LLC, Scooby's Convenience, Casey's Retail Company, Casey's General Store, number 1718, Shopko Stores Operating Company LLC, Shopko Hometown, number 746. So, is there anyone here to speak on behalf of that?
May I simply offer a brief explanation of why these are in front of you? Okay, these are renewals, which you normally don't have in front of you. Alcoholic beverage laws were extensively revised during the 2018 legislative session. What does that mean? It means that the PB, our normal off-sale malt beverage license, was repealed. And we have 3 friends who currently have RB licenses. They are Scooby's, Dollar General, and Cesar Cortez. Also, as part of the revisions, the PF, which is the off-sale malt beverage, and the off-sale South Dakota farm wine license, was also repealed. We currently have 2 holders that have that license, Casey's and Shopko. Furthermore, the RB, which is the licenses, the most of who we have licenses for, that RB license, which is more commonly referred to as the retail beer, that has been broadened to include and absorb basically these other 2 off-sale licenses that they repealed. So as of July 1st, which is when these renewals for the malt beverage must take place, those licenses, the RB on off-sale malt beverage and the off-sale South Dakota farm wine license will be the only license that is renewed. Okay? The fee remains at $300, half of which will be remitted to the state at the time of the application.
Quick question for you,
Yes.
Jen. And on the RBs, as these other ones got absorbed, because they are on-off sale, so does that mean Dollar General could sell beer in their store then?
As far as I'm
And drink it in their store?
Yes, because that's the current RB license regulations.
Just
Okay?
making sure this guy's well aware of it.
Okay, and then a friendly reminder too that the RB license, the retail beer licenses that you gentlemen all approve, are unlimited. So you can, as long as you so approve, we could have 100 of those. There's no limit, state limit like there is in some of our other licenses.
So
Because these are new licenses then, that's why they're in front of you this evening. We have to start them with a whole new process. You got to acknowledge, set the date of hearing, we have to publish, and then we'll bring them all back to you 2 weeks from tonight. And you'll have the full list of all of the renewals at that time.
So what would be the date of hearing?
I believe it is June 2?
June 4th,
June
5:35 p.m.
Correct.
or approximately.
So we could really have a lot of places people can sit and drink inside the establishments.
All of your other licenses, again, the whole group that will be brought back to you on June 4th already have that, so it's only these 5 that are a little bit different.
Okay.
And again, they're all listed on your agenda cover sheet there.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Person that already have they're collapsed into 2 categories, right? The licenses?
2 categories, meaning you've got your malt beverage are July 1st to the following June, and then your liquor license are calendar year. So you see these in front of you normally twice a year. One is the group of liquor, and the other is the malt beverage.
So the ones that already have one in the malt beverage would just give you the new license. As
Correct.
opposed to these who would be applying for,
Correct. So
Expanded.
the five entities that are effective by these repealed licenses are now in front of you this evening, because all we're simply doing is transitioning them into an RV license.
okay.
Okay?
And then they will come back basically at the same time everybody else renews.
Right.
We
And
had
instead
spoken
of
about
having
earlier
all of
today.
these 3 different classifications of malt beverage, you're going to have one. Either you have an RB or you don't have a license.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, just fills a couple blanks when we talked earlier about this, so, thank you.
Any other questions? Not, do we have a motion to acknowledge?
I'll make a motion we acknowledge the alcohol beverage license application, set date of hearing for July 4th at approximately 5:35 p.m.
I'm going to
June-
ask you to
June
amend that
4th.
to June 4th,
What did I say?
July.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, June 4th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank
Is there anything anyone wants removed from the consent calendar? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no old business, under new business, authorize the mayor to sign the Joint Powers Maintenance and Encroachment Agreement, Travis Dresden, South Dakota DOT engineer, with the South Dakota DOT project NH 0034 163 387 PCN 03TC. And with that, I'm going to ask Travis if you'd come to the microphone and give your presentation. Thank you.
And perhaps, Your Honor, I could give a little bit of introduction as well.
That would be great, Chad.
That's all right, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Dressen is the area engineer of the Sioux Falls area office. I had talked to him about coming to this meeting, not only for this agenda item, but also a second part, if you will, of the discussion would be an initial exposure, if we want to call it that, to some of the phasing of the traffic patterns for this project coming up in 2019. This is for the Highway 34 reconstruction project, Washington Avenue, basically from Subway down to the Postrello corner, and then it does extend a little bit farther to the east as well. But if I may, even before we get into some of those details, just walk through a few things included in the agenda packet, and then talk a little bit about the agreement. And then let Travis chime in as necessary or as he'd like to on that, and then maybe we can move into another part of the discussion regarding this phasing and traffic. While Travis is getting his, maybe Jen would be so kind to help get the board going. You see in the packet on May 5th, I have received a letter from Marilyn Patterson from the South Dakota Division of Planning and Engineering of the Department of Transportation out of Pierre. Attached to that letter is a couple different spreadsheet pages, 3 to be exact, and then pages 1 through 4 of said agreement that we've referenced in our discussion thus far. So this agreement is basically, as it said, Joint Powers Maintenance and Encroachment Agreement between the City of Madison and the Department of Transportation. What this does, among other things, is it allows the city to bid our project, the replacement of the sanitary sewer and the water main on the project that I described for you earlier. It allows us to bid that jointly with the DOT, and then after it's bid, the city enters into a contract with the same contractor that the DOT would. As you could expect, I mean, the same contractor needs to be doing the surfacing and the storm sewer and the water and the sanitary for coordination reasons, among others. So that's one thing that this agreement does. It's probably, and perhaps Travis can speak to this, although this came from the Planning and Engineering Office, they would probably be more apt to speak towards this, but I think this is a pretty standard agreement that we see. But then there's also some particular parts related to Madison in our agreement, one of which is in Section 3, contract procurement. There's some drainage that the storm sewer system that the DOT will be picking up at the south end of the project, which will drain, generally speaking, the Lakeview Industrial Park, and then it'll pick up some additional drainage beyond the limits, if you will, of what DOT typically designs their storm sewer for. And by virtue of that, they had to upsize or the size of their storm sewer system, and they're seeking payment for that upsize cost, in essence, from the City of Madison. So in Section 3B, you see the estimated cost for that is just under $117,000. I've been working with Travis and some others in their organization and whom they've consulted about this matter, and we believe this is a reasonable number for the city to pay. The next item under Section 4, you see there's a fee, a dollar amount listed in there rather, for $17,600. What that does is that's a cost that the city the DOT will look towards the city to pay sometime after the project, and what that's for is the increased footings on the light poles and to allow for banners to be mounted on the poles, for decorative banners, and then also for plug-ins to if there needs to be lighted decorations and such like. There's extra footing depth and such like that that's needed, and this is the estimated cost for that. The rest of the agreement, again, Section 5 is the combination letting portion. Section 6 and 7 more or less references previous agreements already agreed to by the city in 2009 and 2008, and then there's some other contractual sections subsequent to that to the end of the agreement. I have shared this with Mr. Jinks also, just to make sure you had a chance to look at it. And I should also say it's very similar, if not identical, to a similar agreement which we had entered into for the Second Street project in 2016. One difference I would note, it's a good thing, in that project the DOT wasn't quite in the LED lighting. That wasn't their standard, I guess you could say, at that time, and so the city was proactive and had to incur some additional costs and to make the change to LED lighting, and we had to bear some costs for that. And so that's not part of this agreement because now LED is their standard, as my understanding is. So that's a good thing. I'll probably think of some more things that I may have omitted later on during the discussion, but that's the main discussion that I wanted to present regarding the agreement and why it's on the agenda for your consideration to approve tonight. And I don't know, Mr. Travis, did I miss anything, or do you want to add anything to that part of the discussion?
No, I think you covered it well. I guess if there are any questions from the Mayor and Commission.
I have a quick question for you, Chad, on that $117,000 for the upsizing from the drainage. Is there any way that we could get any assistance or loans or grants or something from FEMA to help with that? Because that seems more of almost a flood mitigation. I'm just checking to see. I mean, keep it in the back of your mind.
My initial reaction would be no. It's not related to runoff. It's not in our flood plain for the city of Madison, and so I don't believe that would be an option. For your information, I have had this number for a couple years. I have incorporated into some long-range planning budgetary numbers already, so we've counted for that. Although typically we don't receive bills from agreements like this for a year or 2 or 3 afterwards. We haven't received any of them for the 2016 project yet, so maybe we will. Travis, maybe we'll pass that along to get that going, maybe. But thank you.
The other question I have is just, Travis, we're adding the additional footing for the light poles, which obviously is awesome. And I'll kind of lean on Brad a little bit as well, is that I'm assuming that these light poles then would also be fitted if we were to do some Internet of Things in the future, whether it be with the lighting, whether it be for public safety or other things that we might hang on there, even to the point of doing maybe even some small cells or something like that, other telecommunications gear and things that we might in the future want to put on these?
Yeah, that's something that I think we can discuss in the future if that ever comes to fruition. So the agreement itself is covering those things like those banners that are commonly put up during the holiday season, obviously the festoon outlets, again, for decorative lighting, and things like that. Since the small cell towers have recently started becoming more popular, we've developed a policy on how to handle small cell utilities. I guess in a nutshell, what our policy or our memorandum states is that we're not allowing those on our interstate system, but we will look at those on a case-by-case basis on our secondary highways. So I think there's some coordination that needs to happen with the community too. And if we go down that route, one of the things we need to look at is what size the utility is, what additional load it puts on the pole, and what is able to accommodate that. So I guess that's not only for the small cells, other than we have a separate memorandum for those. For anything additional, that's just something we need measurements for to calculate what that wind load and what effect it would have on the pole recording.
Okay.
If I could clarify one thing too, the lighting on this project was extended not only along the Washington Avenue portion, but it was extended also from that 10th Street Washington Avenue intersection all the way to Highway 19 as well. But I did want to make a particular note, those are not being designed to handle the banners, and this dollar doesn't. We've had some coordination with Brad and his predecessor, and early on we sort of chose that path thinking it's more in the median, it's a way more hazard in mounting banners and such like that, and so we did not include that in here, just so everybody's clear.
You don't want us accessing those poles as often because it's the divided highway and busy highway and things like that?
Yeah, I think as you start getting kind of outside of the immediate urban area,
Yep.
Things, the speed limits pick up, obviously there's a safety concern out there.
Because that's been in plans for quite a while. Isn't Sioux Valley helping us with that then as well?
Correct.
So,
as you may recall, this project, I think the scope started planning in probably 14 or 13 even, and the idea at that time it was to construct it, I believe it was 16 and 17. It may have been even a year ahead for both, but
16 and 17 to start.
16 and 17 to start is what I recall, and then of course now we have a couple year break in between and such. But early on in that process, we did approach DOT about actually extending it out to the Highway 19. So that was a change that the DOT accommodated our request for that after some of the initial scoping had been accomplished. So.
okay.
So the second part of the discussion, I thought it was appropriate to start talking about, to inform at least the commission and of course the public about some of the constraints and the plans that are in place for the phasing of the project.
And Travis, just to kind of give a head start in that, I did visit with some people, as I mentioned, in that, and they are here. And so, I gave them copies of the colored map. And so, as you go through it and that, they're concerned, where's it going to start? What are the dates? Those kind of things.
Sure.
With that, we'll turn it to you.
All right, good enough. So yeah, the project starts up here on the north end, up by the subway corner, and extends down to 10th Street or the truck route, and then turns and goes back to the east to the beginning of the divided highway section. Now, if you recall, this used to be a 4-lane road that was converted into a 5-lane section, so we have the narrow lanes. Cars are obviously driving over in the gutter on the outside lanes, so this project will be addressing those issues, addressing some safety concerns out there, some drainage issues that are happening, and then also bring things up to the current ADA standards. And then, as Chad mentioned, there will be concrete paving, curb and gutter, lighting, all new storm sewer, city water main, and city sanitary sewer. So, to take a little bit closer look at the phasing, this is a map that our design consultant, HR Green, assembled for us. And you'll notice that this is broken into several different phases. And one of the things that we saw with this project initially is that the underground utilities is what is driving the different phases. So I'll kind of walk through those. But to start out with, we have Phase 1 is this light blue color. Phase 1A is this section right here in the middle of the map, right around the 4th Street intersection. We have Phase 1B, and I should correct myself that Phase 1A is on the west side of the road. Once you get north of 4th Street, Phase 1A is on the east side of the road.
Actually, reverse, Travis.
Yeah, excuse me.
This is your 1A, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Unless that's
looking
labeled
wrong
wrong.
one.
Blue is one.
The map is, I gotta zoom out here a little bit, guys. Okay. And maybe it's more confusing in talking about some of these phases, just going one by one, but, so phase 1 in the blue, phase 1A again here at 4th Street, phase 1B on the west side, north of 4th Street. The phase 2 main line is north of 4th Street, that's gonna be on the east side of the road, and that phase is also incorporated on the west side of the road, south of 4th Street. And then, the phase 3 is just a little tiny portion of the project right here where there's gonna be an island, similar to the one that exists out there today. And then phase 4, 4A, and 4B are on the south side of 34, on the south side of the 10th Street intersection, and then the south side of Highway 34. So initially, how we set these projects up is, initially we look at what are some of those primary constraints based on the work that's going to be done. Speaking on the north end of the project, the storm sewer trunk line is on the west side of the road until we get to 4th Street, and then it switches and runs along the east side of the road. And the water main and sanitary sewer are on the west side. They're actually under the southbound lanes. And the water stays on that side. The sanitary sewer runs in a straight line, so as it goes through the shift in the intersection, it actually moves under the northbound lanes. And that is the reason why this red phase right here is identified. It's some of the most intense sanitary sewer work that is being done on the project in this area in the 4th Street intersection itself. We're looking at sanitary sewer depths of about 18 feet, so we have pretty significant excavation that needs to happen there. And what we are proposing to do is to close this section of the highway for 45 working days to allow the contractor to complete that work. That would be everything from day 1, starting the removals, to day, if it takes 45 days, but at the end of that period, we expect that roadway to be completely done, the concrete paving, the curb and gutter, and for that section to be done. There will be some things behind the curb, the sidewalk, the lighting, that may not be complete in that time frame, but we at least want that roadway back open, or that section to be available, to be opened up to traffic again. So when we start looking at these adjacent phases that come into it, giving the contractor some latitude on where they would like to begin that project based on what kind of work they think they can take on. So I'm envisioning that the section on the west side of the road north of the intersection will likely happen first. That's where our storm sewer trunk line is. A lot of times that's the first work to happen. Get the trunk line in so that side has drainage, and then they can start the laterals across the street when they move into the second phase. That goes the same for the water main. Once that water main is in, then it's a matter of connecting the services across when the next phase is done. So that's one of the phases that we see happening early in the project. As we move, so kind of like the map predicts, that will be constructed half the time, kind of like that Second Street project happened. One half of the road getting traffic, the other half was under construction. And as we move to the south side of the 4th Street intersection, as that sanitary sewer shifts, it's the deepest utility. That extends right down near, excuse me, Chad, is that Silver?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
agreed.
So it extends somewhere down into this area down here. Again, the deepest utility, that's work they'll want to start on before they start putting in their storm sewer and doing their other work and their grading work above that. So the northwest or the north-south piece will be constructed half of the time with this closure in the middle. And then as we get down to the Highway 34 section, we have the south side of 34 right here in purple, and the yellow and the green initially set up as separate phases to maintain traffic at this intersection. We have talked with Custom Touch Homes back there. They seem to be the one mostly affected by that and getting some of the larger homes out of there and using this area. That if this phase were to be constructed all at once, that they would be fine with detouring to another access point out to Highway 34. So that's something that we're looking at, allowing the contractor to do, is to put the green, yellow, and purple all in one phase. Likely what we will do is put a completion requirement on this intersection, so once when they're working, we get the work done, we get the intersection open to traffic again.
And Travis, there has been some discussion in that about, extending additionally further south. Is that on this drawing now or not a part of this drawing now?
Extending further south for the full closure?
No, extending the project
yes,
further
good point.
south.
This area
Yes,
here.
gotcha.
that Chad just
Mhm.
pointed to.
So yeah, the intersection itself, what we are proposing to do is to extend that another additional 250 feet as part of the project. at
Which
cost-
brings it to this location on the green.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's what my question was.
Yep, so this is accurate to what we are proposing to do today. So that will be
Very good.
constructing on a county road essentially at the project cost, no cost to the county. We're reaching out to the county. I haven't heard back from them yet, but it is something we're going to continue to follow up on. And what our intent to do there is to line up, create on the south side of the intersection, build this out to a 3-lane section to match our turn lanes on the opposite side. Without that, there is a weave through the intersection, because it seems like it would function as well as it could if we built this 3-lane section for a short distance to the south. So that is something that we will be pursuing with this project. As soon as we can bring that one down.
Very good.
And obviously, on that intersection, you've talked with B&G Trucking with all their semis they got. And obviously, that's our industrial park as well. So there's a lot of truck traffic. And then, of course, during the fall, during harvest, that intersection gets really busy with all the grain trucks. And so we're all good with the turning radiuses and everything. And
Yes, and actually it was a lot.
extra good.
Yeah, I would say, it was a result of concerns from the city and concerns from those trucking businesses that kind of brought about this change. So that helped drive that. So I appreciate the input that we had there. I think in the end, we're going to have a well-functioning intersection, certainly better than what it is today.
Awesome. Well, they're the
Very
ones
good.
who, they hit it every single day, and not just B&G, but I mean all of those businesses. They live and die with their, bringing in materials and things with their trucks.
Yeah, the ones who are driving it are the ones who are seeing it every day. And
Yeah.
point out
And, I think it'd be safe to say, ever since we've talked about this, we've become so much more aware of how dangerous that intersection is. It's just,
Yeah.
that is
Well,
probably-
not just with the semis there, but obviously, I mean, that's a huge trailhead as well for the recreational trail multi-use path that goes there. I know a lot of people go there because it is an actual stop, intersection, well, except for if they're coming in here, but then that way you can actually hit a stop sign, get across, and then cross again to get onto the path. So I'm just concerned because we got little kids on wobbly bikes that are going through there, and
Right.
makes it a little rough for them.
And then with First Line Funding now having their offices down there, we've added a lot of to and from work traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And then the hotel is planned to be down, utilizing that intersection, so it makes it very important.
Yeah, so I think that will be a nice change to what was originally anticipated in that area. So I know there have been some concerns about the 45-day closure. And
Travis, can I ask
Yeah.
one last question on
Yes,
that intersection?
absolutely. Mhm.
And then we'll go to the 45-day closure.
Yep.
As you're coming in town from the east, headed west, and you go and turn, and I've had this discussion with Chief Meyer, he's laughing already, he knows what I'm going to ask, is that, people, it's been 30 years since we've been in driver's ed teacher, and people don't know if they should stop, yield, continue driving
Mhm.
when they turn to the north.
Yep.
And are we gonna put a yield sign there, put a sign that says continue driving in your lane, or what can we do to kind of help our law enforcement and that whole flow that happens there?
Yeah, I think one of the issues that we see today, just kind of graphically how this is laid out, it's appearing that this is going to be a yield situation. I can confirm that on the pavement layout sheets. First, one of the reasons for replacing the island back in is it serves as a pedestrian refuge as they cross. This is long distance for pedestrians to get across that route, so that's the reason the island's going back in.
Yeah, you'd never make it.
Yeah, I think one of the apprehension
Going fast.
one of the apprehension from drivers is as they round that corner, the lanes have been narrowed when it was converted to the 5-lane section, and I think that causes uneasiness with drivers. That as they see traffic coming through, northbound traffic, there's very little room between the curb and that vehicle next to them, and I think that causes some of that hesitation. Right now, there's an added lane symbol that's up there now, showing that there is a lane to drive in. I don't think that is always clear. But I think the biggest difference is widening this out to a full 5-lane section so vehicles are more comfortable in the lanes that they're driving in. Really, as you're around that corner, your outside or your right-hand tire is basically in the gutter pan. And that is not standard, I would say, in a lot of places. So I think once the project is complete, I don't think that will be an issue. Like I said, I can go back and confirm that that's a yield sign, but it looks to me like it is going to be a yield situation.
Okay. Okay with that.
Okay.
Is there?
Thank you.
And that's as compared to a free right situation, is that correct? The free right, it doesn't involve a yield, is that correct?
No.
Okay.
And that's the situation that's out there today with the added lane symbol. So
Okay.
hopefully drivers, when they turn the corner, they see that there's an arrow sign for the northbound traffic and then that there is an added lane.
Sure.
It's a symbol, so hopefully drivers understand that.
Is there a sign out there? I remember that sign. There is? Maybe I'm going too fast. See it?
So certainly the most, the portion of the project with the largest impact is this section right here on 4th Street, as I mentioned, the utilities. The depth of the utilities and where they're located in the roadway really caused the need to close this down. When we let a set of plans, one of our requirements in our specifications is the contractor must maintain access to local businesses and residences. And we have that basic requirement, and when they don't meet that requirement, then we need to step in and make sure that they do. A lot of times what a contractor can do is based on how they do their work, they can work with landowners and find innovative solutions to these issues. So let's just say, for instance, there's a business that's not open on a Saturday and Sunday, but they need a new approach port for their driveway. They'll come in late Friday after that business is closed for that access, and it'll be open by Monday. So those are some of the things that we don't necessarily spell out in the plans, but it's up to the contractor to develop a solution to meet those access needs. Now, when we talk about a full closure, it's a full closure for through traffic. It's local traffic only, and those signs will be posted on the barricades that it is for local traffic. So whether during construction, vehicles, contractors will work with business owners and landowners to either use 4th Street to get out onto the grade. At times, there will be no surfacing out there. It will be just grade or just dirt while the roadway is being, while the utility work is being done and the roadway is being graded. So we do have some opportunities for back access to some of the parcels that contractors would look at using. And I know as we look to the south end of the project, this break is occurring, the full roadway closure is occurring right at the Lewis driveway here. So I think there are some things that we can do, possibly looking at additional easements along these properties to provide access to the neighbors. That's done through the right-of-way process, so as we're out there getting right-of-way needed for the project or temporary easements, we can obtain additional easements for access purposes. So that will be our right-of-way office working with folks. Certainly interested, if anybody along this stretch has specific questions and they're not here today, I'd like to pass my contact information on. We'd like to hear from these folks, to hear what their specific concerns are. We may have something in mind or something that they're concerned about that they feel will not work. We certainly want to hear that before we let the project. We're looking to have a letting date for this project late September of this year. So construction won't actually start until 2019, as soon as the weather allows. Our overall completion date of the project is late November of 2019. That's a substantial completion date. The roadway needs to be open to traffic, and we spell out what items need to be done. We carry the overall completion date into June of the following year to allow us to put down things like pavement markings that are weather dependent. So give some extra time for some of that cleanup work and pavement markings and those things.
Travis, can I
Yeah.
ask a question?
Yep.
Are you planning on having that intersection open and backfilled with gravel at any point in time during that 45 days?
I would anticipate yes. Anything that is, so we have sewer connections that need to be made. Once that is backfilled, contractors will want to come in. I mean, they need that connectivity too to get their materials in and out, as well as accommodating access to folks. So
The question I have regarding that is we had some issues with 2nd Street and specifically that subway corner. When they were done filling that, they weren't putting a lot of fill in just because they'd have to haul it in and haul it back out. However, during weather events, that was flooding.
Yep.
And then we found that there was nobody in town that was moving barricades, and we took it upon ourselves, and there was a little bit of blowback from that. And is there any way that we can get that backfill up to road grade to avoid those issues in the future, so we're not having cars driving through bumper deep water and having stranded vehicles?
yes, certainly can. One of the things that I also want to touch on with this phasing is that it's going to be set up so that we're installing that trunk sewer line. The last project, that trunk line was actually the 2nd phase to go in. So when the first phase was built, there was really nowhere for the water to go. So this phase is following where that trunk line is going. So hopefully, one, we improve drainage during construction. Two, I think, yes, we can certainly spell that out, that those accesses need to be up, and working with our field engineer that we're not putting in the bare minimum to do that during wet weather.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mayor,
Yes, Randy?
Travis, I just have a question on the south border of the closure.
Yes.
It looks like it's maybe just barely into the access. Oh, yeah, I'll explain it. Yeah. So this is what would be one of our 2 main accesses to all the businesses back here.
Yep.
Could that line be moved here so that we can use that access?
Yeah, and I think what the intent of what they're trying to show on this break was putting a line on a map. I don't think that there's anything at that
Good.
specific location that prevents it from being shifted
10 feet one way or
Possibly.
the other.
We can see where some of our structures are.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an inlet just outside of that phase that they're gonna be installing. The intent though with that phase break is that where it falls in the driveway, that it still allows access for that driveway to be used.
Good.
You don't have a driveway further to the south?
Yes, there is one right
It's
there.
it's a small driveway that does not allow for in and out access. It's shared by a homeowner.
Okay.
And it's half gravel. So there's no way, you can sneak a car into our parking lot. But that's the best.
So what they're showing on this map, what is proposed to be put back in is similar to what is there today, a shared
Yeah.
access on the property line?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The 2 main accesses are to the north there.
Yeah,
And-
certainly the better option would be to bring traffic into this access and allow them to distribute from here as opposed to
think-
bringing them all in.
Maybe even the only option.
Yeah,
You know,
I
because
would
there's
agree.
70 or 80 cars back there at one
Yeah.
time possibly.
Yeah.
And there's a restaurant, so you've got people coming and going all the time.
Yeah, storage units and
Yeah.
other
Right.
office building, I think, so.
If we could keep that access, that would be good.
Okay.
Randy, one of the things you may want to visit with them that, when they're talking in that south access, and that is maybe widening it more, for the future use.
Sure. We
Yeah.
welcome that, if you could do that.
Sure, that's something we can look at, and I can double check in the plans, and I'm just looking at it now, and it looks certainly narrow. When we share those accesses on a property line, we want to make sure that there's enough onto your own property that's a usable access, so a lot of times those shared accesses are wider than what a standard access would be.
So you could
Probably
actually,
probably not a 40-foot, but something in the 24 to 32.
so you could widen it without going to any difficulty getting,
Yeah, I don't-
changing plans or anything like that. You could just do it as, like, when you get there, is this something you need to decide?
That's something I want to talk with our design folks. Our access management engineer goes through these and provides an initial report on access widths and locations.
Okay.
So it's something that I'll also want to discuss with them. We can look at whether drop-in ones next to the driveway too, that might be effective, so.
Yeah, good. Vehicles with trailers, or larger trucks will use that driveway to come in,
Oh, so.
rather than the other two, because the other two offer such a tight turnaround as our building is as close as it can be to the street, really, without
Okay.
causing, just to allow for parking, so.
And it's my understanding there's a platted access easement off of this driveway, I believe, going straight
Yes.
back.
Yep.
And Travis, they do get trucks and trailers going back there to those storage sheds,
And to
cars
deliver food
pulling, and
to Sherry, she's got stuff coming in
Yeah.
all the time, semi-trucks.
semi-trucks, yeah.
Yeah.
And your picture there does not show the storage units, which are, would be below, down where Chad's hand is.
Oh,
Yeah, there they are.
That does show up here.
Yes.
At least one set on this aerial, I think there may be more back there now.
Yes.
Good, well, having that extra access in the middle would be, just moving that far enough so that we can continue that in and out of traffic.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be something that, once we start the project, the contractor's gonna need to be talking with those folks who get those trucks, semi-trucks in. What days are your deliveries, what kind of access do you need? Can a truck use another driveway and make that corner still? I mean, those are just details that need to be worked out that we can't necessarily incorporate into a design or.
No, I understand, I'm just saying,
Yep.
if we could get that line moved to cover,
Yep.
to open up that access, and then we'd have that south access still to use for those trucks and trailers, like,
Yep.
until you get it all finished.
Yep.
That would be helpful.
Yes.
Mayor, for the record, I'm Danny Fraser Griffin, commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars post that's in the 45-day, potentially 45-day closure. So Travis, we'd be very interested in talking to you about traffic flow, and access, because 45 days for us is a long time. And even though we may have some access through the grade of the street and everything else, it'd be nice if we could sit down and I could be able to talk with our post members about what to expect. Because if you pull up our shot on the screen, hopefully I'm talking loud enough for the recording, but you can see that we do have this back entrance, but we get semi trucks and stuff too, just like everybody else along that closure route. And what they like to do is kind of pull in one way and go out the other way as much as they can, and minimize their turning in our. Because we have cars a lot of times in our parking lot, makes it really tough for the trucks. But this is our primary entrance, and then obviously 4th Street coming back here. So I guess the only other option we would have is down here by Casey's, coming in this direction and back up for traffic flow.
Is this your lot here?
That is our lot also.
Okay, that's also your
but that's all dirt for us.
One of the things I want to mention too that kind of goes to some of the helping find some of the access to these businesses is that on these projects, we do have provisions for trail blazing signs. We use those on on Second Street as well, to where property owners can provide a sign to us at their cost. We give that to the contractor. They maintain those signs. They put them up as driveways move or as access changes. They can relocate those signs to give people better direction on where to go. We can provide some more information on that in a future newsletter too.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then one other question I have for that closure time period is time without water or sewer. And is there a length of time or how often? Is there going to be a schedule where we can plan our closures or something around the same time as where we don't have water or sewer?
Sure, I'll probably defer water and sewer questions to Chad. He's got a little more experience with the municipal utility side of things and how their contracts.
Because if you're doing splicing and putting everything together, I would expect we're not going to have water or sewer at a certain time.
They'll be very short duration.
Short periods?
Usually a day. I mean, it'll be on and off back within a day. If anything more than that, we'd have to look at temporary water solutions. Sewer will always be ongoing. There may be, again, a day when you're asked to use a little bit less water for a period of time, but pretty short duration.
Really, never a day that you're not going to be able to use sewer.
We may ask you just to, try to refrain from as much water use as possible for a day for the sewer purposes where they're doing that connection. As far as water, you may have an outage for a period of time, usually 4 to 6 hours max, and then they'll convert it.
That we sell less beverages.
Yeah, but they'll be giving more than adequate notice to businesses and such, particularly water using businesses for that. So.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, did I hear you say that that 45 days, is that from start to finish?
We have it set up that once that roadway is tore up, that at the end of the 45 days, we expect concrete surfacing.
Okay.
So
you have the tear up and then you have the 45 days.
45 working days.
45 working
Thank you.
days. Correct.
That's different than calendar day.
Different than calendar day.
Yeah.
One of the things we don't want to do is get that back open to gravel, and then we have gravel maintenance issues and things like that. But if we're going to close it, feel like let's get it and get the surfacing on, we'll be done with it.
So from start to finish, what kind of time period are you looking at? Let's just say, for example, the closure area.
So start to finish.
Break down to,
Yeah, when we say 45 working days, every day of the week is considered a working day except Sundays. So.
Oh, right, I understand.
Yep.
Yeah, to tear it all up, is that another 45 days or is that real quick?
I think it's from tear up to open. It's 45
Okay,
working.
so I misunderstood your first
Yep.
answer.
So the barricades go up, that's day one. And
Okay, good, yeah.
45 days.
That was my question,
So
so.
hard surface concrete,
Yeah.
permanent surface down.
Great.
Yep.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I was getting your question.
Yeah, no, that's a pleasant surprise, really, yeah.
Just an FYI, when they did Subway, because the new storms here and everything, that was a 60-day. In that, time frame and that, and we had access one way or the other, and then, people came in through the alley, so, it worked out okay, during that time period. So.
Yeah, good, thank you.
And then while you're right there in that, I did visit with the Tom Shea family, which, just has access off of Washington. And and I visited with Danny from the VFW, and so they're going to work out where they'll park in the VFW parking lot and then just walk to the house during that time period.
Okay, good, thank you.
No questions from Mayor, thanks. How about the business up there with the trucks? There. Did you say that there will always be access to these, just not through access?
When we say we don't want traffic coming through this direction and saying, well, it looks like it's open and zip on through the construction zone.
Yeah.
What we really want to do is limit that just to the people who need to get to those businesses.
Yeah.
who
So both
utilize-
sides of the street,
Correct.
you can get there and get back out?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
If I recall correctly too, I believe we got a platted alley between Fourth and this is actually Fifth. So they would have a back access.
Okay.
I would
There are
say
a lot of
that,
times those trucks aren't there.
Yeah.
That's relative parking.
And those are those situations where the contractor may come in and say, you know what, we think what the best thing for you would be if we ran your traffic to the back of the lot for 2 days. Would that be something acceptable to you? And that's the contractor working with landowners.
with the depth of the sewer and the width of the street, by the time you put all your spoils, you're gonna have to have, there's gonna be a significant amount of spoils you're gonna have to dig out. You're pretty much, by the time you try to bring anything in for the contract, to bring bedding stuff or anything in on the other side, you're pretty much gonna limit that down. So for a period of time through the deepest part of the dig, it's gonna be very restricted. I don't wanna have anybody think it's gonna be fairly easy getting back and forth. There's gonna be a period of time when, because to dig down 18 feet down, you're gonna be probably almost 40 feet wide. You bench it and you're going to be almost 40 feet wide, and by the time you put your spoil piles out there, you're going to be pretty much covering up the entire right-of-way. So there's going to be periods of time where there's going to be very limited access.
And just FYI, and that the representatives from the Dollar General are here and that this evening as well. So, we did get to the businesses so that they could be here and get questions answered.
And Travis, for your designer, it would not bother us to have this replaced. That's our flagpole. Right now, it's to be safe. And if you need to, we would love to, down the line, replace it anyway, turn a new one up. So if it comes to that, we would be very open to having that taken down to help.
Have you, specific to you, have you met with the right-of-way?
We have, and they saved it. We weren't expecting them to save it.
Okay.
So, what I'm saying is we'd be open to, making it a little easier.
We're not quite asking you to please.
Yeah.
I guess we gotta be a preference.
Absolutely.
Send the right-of-way agent back up to talk.
Yeah, our key thing was keeping the two entrances.
Right.
And he interpreted to keep that whole section in there, and having the flagpole removed, and, and putting up a brand, we'd love to put up a new one for a post.
Okay.
It's open for discussion if it helps you guys.
Sure, okay.
18 foot is over my head, Randy. Just give me some
I don't want to put in
definitions of
About 3.5 times.
I think it certainly does add a level of complexity to the project, but I think it really is a great opportunity, the street coming up, total reconstruction. Shouldn't have to be, we won't have to do it for another 40, 50 years at least from a pavement condition.
Chet knows I'm big on dig once, bury everything. I mean, just as much as we can, so we don't have to go back and re-disturb the street and the surface and dig again. So, but sorry, Randy.
Oh, no, it's fine. Just wondering what the next step is. How will we find out, and when will we find out, answers to our specific questions, such as that south boundary closure area?
What I will do is I'll exchange contact information with you.
Okay.
Some of the things I think you've also been talking with our right-of-way office.
Mhm.
One of the things that we did discuss is potentially additional easements for access to adjacent parcels. So that is something that we're talking about now, kind of revolving around your property. So I will want to touch base with you anyway.
Good.
Exchange contact information with you.
Thank you.
Sure. And I guess we have this in our program for about $8.2 million. It's kind of what we have budgeted this project for. Historically, projects from the Sioux Falls area, we wouldn't have come in under those estimates, so. We'll be able to take advantage of a good time to let this project as well. And this September is a really good target timeframe for that.
city's portion is, as I recall, just over $1 million, what our estimate is. I think that concludes the presentation.
Are
Yeah,
there,
sorry.
is there anyone else that has any questions in that, while Travis is here and we have everything up? Yes, sir.
How much wider is that road going to be than what it is now? Is it going to be wider?
Yeah, so we're planning for 5 11-foot lanes, and then the curb pan itself is 2 feet as well, so 2 feet on each side, plus still 55 feet.
And what is it now?
I think those, I'd have to go out and measure to be sure. I think the center turn lane is much less than that. I'm not so sure it's around 10.
Yeah, 9.5.
I think they're like 9.5, 10, 10, 10, 9.5,
Okay.
something in that neighborhood.
So,
That's a common question. I always forget to take note of it.
yeah, I know.
I think it's about 2
49.
feet on either side.
Enough to where, obviously cars are utilizing that gutter pan, running over the inlet lids, which is causing a lot of maintenance and pressure on those too.
So did I hear you right, Jack? You said 2.5 feet on each side you're going to go
Roughly, I believe that's correct. But
So how you guys do that at like the Mustang seat? You have that on there? I mean, that's getting quite close. I mean, if we had a concern with safety at at Sample or Flowers, how are you guys going to work that?
Currently, they have
There you go,
parking
right there north
in
of the railroad
front
tracks.
there, where they can pull
Right
out
there.
and park between the curb and the building.
Just south of
Not
Second
much.
Street.
No,
Yep.
but that
East
may
side of the
be
road.
not, a possibility afterwards.
So you're going to have that right. You have parking, and then you got the sidewalk right in front of Mustang. So that means that road's going to be right on that sidewalk. I would think that would be a safety issue. Getting back to the safety issue with Sample or Flowers, how are we going to address that?
I think it'll be much like Second Street is right now. I mean, I get nervous at how close, it's like 30 miles an hour, and this one will be 30 as well. And the sidewalk is right next to the road, just like it is now, between Prostrello's and everybody there. And so I don't think it's going to be any different if happens to be a building right next to it, or whether it was, grass or, on Second Street, there's sidewalk and then like a cement barrier, I'll call it, cement fence. So it's not going to be any safer or any less safe than what we have right now, like on Second Street.
And we have a few occasions down there where the buildings are right on the right-of-way line, existing right-of-way line. So it's back curb, it's sidewalk, and then it's the building face. We have that in a lot of communities. Canton,
And
South Dakota is a perfect example of that. That the entire US 18 corridor through Canton is building faces at the right-of-way line. And to my knowledge, there haven't been any issues down there. So.
And Domestic did, look forward in that, they bought that home and that moved it off and built a parking lot a couple of years ago, so.
Yeah, I mean, nobody likes having trail, sidewalk, anything, that close right next to the road. But at the same time, don't really have a choice. Build a tunnel through the building. Work with what you have as best as you can.
If it was-
70, 80, 100 years ago, they didn't think we were going to put in this big of a road. And personally, I'm glad that we have to. I mean, it shows what's happening in our community. And I'll say the Second Street, I think, has made huge improvements and been a very positive thing for our town. Was it painful going through it? Absolutely. But it sure is nice now. And I think the businesses there are really enjoying that. I think people driving, the locals, as well as people who come to our community, enjoy that road, so.
Yeah, about the only option you have there at Mustang Seeds, it's one that was done in Fort Pierre, was to put in a Jersey barrier through there on that small stretch. If there was enough pedestrian traffic in Fort Pierre, it was right in front of the high school gymnasium. And so they did put a Jersey barrier along that stretch there to keep the vehicles from coming into that gathering area. Here, I don't see that number of pedestrians to where it warrant the cost of a Jersey barrier through there, but that's something that'd be about the only option. If it was something the city felt was real important, we could probably, pay the cost of that and put in there, but it'd be fairly substantial in that small section.
Anyone else, other questions or comments? Well, I want to thank Travis, and I want to thank everyone and that came this evening, and I hope it enlightened you on the project, and at least put a face to the project, so that if you have some questions or concerns in that, you'll know who to contact.
Just
Kelly?
comment maybe you could make on the grade of some of those hills that in that area is going to change significantly also, correct? Not hills, but those approaches.
The grade line of the road itself. So the grade line will change slightly. You start getting these urban environments, there's not a lot that can be done. Certainly, you don't want any road that's flat, so there are minor grade differences, so the watershed's being less the way it should appropriately, but no major grade changes, I guess, if that answers your question. If you want more specific numbers.
At one point when this discussion started, I was in the impression that out where I used to have an office, that grade, that hill was going to be leveled down significantly.
Which one?
By
It would be by Second Street Diner
South
and
end of the closure area.
during the closure area.
right there.
Right along in there, it goes along and, and then drops down quite a bit.
Thank you.
I think the grades are going to be pretty much very similar.
I think they're within a half a foot in that area.
I'm more curious than anything, because I've talked a couple different times when we started discussing.
Got to go south. There's a railroad right there, so you're south of that.
I just want to make sure then that the media knows the
That's right by the BFW there.
people that live
Go
along
further
this
yet.
area, talk to the DOT. Work with them, work with Chad. Talk
There
to
should
them.
be it.
They'll hopefully be able to work it out. If not,
That's it
then
right there.
come back to us as well. And
Don't have your originals on there.
Yeah, the original is on there.
It is?
That's blue.
There's a light blue.
Oh,
line.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost right on top of each other, so it's flattened out just a hair, but it's so close. Each of these are 2.5 feet.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, the only thing I was going to say to Marshall was that I had great concerns about that same thing. People going on Highway, on Second Street. It felt like, as we were processing through that, I felt like they're going to step out their front door and step onto Second Street or Highway 34. But for the most part, I think it was remediated quite well and handled that well. And that's good. So, I know the concern is some of these people are going to step out the front door and step on the Highway 34. It didn't work out that way.
That's why we bought samples and tore it down, because of the safety issue.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, and there were several things with
now
that
we
too.
can put it.
Well, and there was flood issues there where they wouldn't
Oh,
let
I
them.
understand that.
They wouldn't let them fix the building up either.
I
so.
understand that.
But no, you're absolutely
It
right.
was safety for
Yes.
coming out of that front door.
Yes. Well, and they wouldn't let them change the doorway either. FEMA wouldn't. Where at least at Domestic, they do have a north entrance on the northeast side, and so there they have a little bit more option than what they were allowed at the sample building. But you're right, it is going to be close. Yes. Other questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you, Travis, for enlightening us and
Appreciate it.
bringing the
Thanks,
information, to the public light. And we look forward to 2020 when we can look back and say, that's a nice project behind us. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, we have authorized the mayor to sign the Joint Powers Maintenance and Encroachment Agreement. And we have not had a motion on that yet. So with that,
I'll make a motion that we authorize the mayor to sign joint powers maintenance and enroachment agreement. Travis Dreesen, actually for project number NH0034, PRIN 163387, PNC 03TC.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 2, authorize donation of easements for voluntary right-of-way donation, project BRF 6304 02 PCN 02EG, parcels 2 and 3. And I'll ask Chad to address this, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Included in the agenda packet are several forms, DOT forms that we received from the right-of-way office. And this is related to, I should back up, the bridge projects. Several of the next items are related to bridge projects planned. One, replacing the bridge on Center Street, and the other one on Garfield Avenue. And so I'll just talk about these in general, but and then get into the specific items. But the DOT requires us to pursue right-of-way donations, if possible, for both permanent and any temporary right-of-way needed for the temporary more so for the construction, and then permanent would be if any of the proposed structure is near or on property not currently within the right-of-way. And so these forms that you see are the typical and standard forms that they require. There's easements needed on both structures, 3 easements on the Center Street project, that is I'll refer to the PCN at 02EG, and 2 easements needed on PCN 02EF, and that's your Garfield structure. On the Center Street structure, the first one, which is this item 2 of new business, parcels 2 and 3 are actually city properties.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you, man.
Thank you all.
They're city properties, and I may draw your attention to a drawing in front of you. I've prepared that roughly for you. The pink on this drawing, if you flip to the side that has color on it, is the permanent easements, and this is the Center Street structure. The north side of the street, or up on the top side of the sheet, is north, and the pink is the permanent easement. I think they use the term perpetual easement that they use in here, and then the yellow is the temporary easement. So this parcels 2 and 3 are for city-owned properties where you as the city, that's why it says authorized donation. So you actually I'm asking you through all these agenda items, both agree to donate the property, so you're one party in the agreement, and then the very next item is where you're the other party in the agreement, where you're the group seeking the easement. I know it's kind of convoluted here, but so you're both parties in these documents, but the DOT still requires us to do it, and so that's part why I'm doing that. So the first item, number 2, is authorize the donation of the easements on the north side of Center Street, and then the other parcel is on the southwest side of Center Street. There was one private landowner here that is affected, and you can see it on this sheet that I had drawn to your attention, Jay and Lois Nieder. Their property, generally speaking, is that outlined in the dashed red box that I drew on this drawing as well. So that would be actually an item I'm going to ask you to consider for item number 3 of new business. So, item 2, do you agree to give the donation of the right-of-way?
I'll make a motion that we authorize the donation of easements for voluntary right-of-way donation for the project number in item number 2, new business.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And number 3, authorize the mayor to sign the agreements for the voluntary right-of-way donation in the same project. And this-
I'll again make that motion to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement for the voluntary right of donation for that same project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On item 4, authorize the donation of easements for right-of-way donation project BRO 804018 PCN 02EF parcels 1 and 2.
Make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 5, authorize the mayor to sign the agreements for the voluntary right-of-way donation under the same project as item 4.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 6, authorize the mayor to sign the utilities and right-of-way certificates with the South Dakota DOT, project number BRF 6304 00 PCN 02EG, which is the previous one up there. Chad, did you want to add anything to this?
This is the next part of the process. I'll just refer to it as the DOT lumps us into the environmental process based and utility certification process, but we have to assure that we have the right-of-way taken care of, which this item I just asked you to take care of is the right-of-way portion. And then and you can see the utility certificate, we've had some outreach to these utilities and making sure that the DOT requires us to get all the utilities out of the way, either before the project or account for their relocation during the project. And we've reached out to these folks and had all of the official correspondence with them, and they're in process of getting it taken care of. And so, again, requirements of the DOT before we can proceed with this letting and then ultimately construction of the project. This first one is for the Center Street structure.
I'll make a motion we authorize mayor to sign utilities and right-of-way certificates for SDDOT project as listed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 7, authorize the mayor to sign the utilities and right-of-way certificates for South Dakota DOT project number BRO 8040 00 PCN 02EF, which is the other bridge.
Make a motion, we authorize the mayor to sign the utilities of right-of-way certificates for South Dakota DOT project number BRO 8040 00 PCN 02EF.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Authorize the mayor to sign the application for the permit to occupy the right-of-way of East River Federal Credit Union at Southeast 2nd Street and Hearth Avenue. And I'll ask Chad to address this one, please.
Yes, thank you. And included in the agenda packet is an application to occupy the right-of-way. It's at the intersection of Hearth Avenue and 2nd Street Southeast. East River Federal Credit Union owns some property there. They want to put in a parking lot, and part of the drainage facilities in their parking lot has an area drain and some piping to try to keep the water from running over the curb, which can create icing issues in the winter and so on. They want to put it into a piping system and then insert it directly into the storm sewer that we have in the nearby street. And since it's the line up to and into the storm sewer is going to be their private facilities that they own and maintain, they need permission essentially from the city to put it in the right of way and then connect onto the structure. And this is a form we've used in the past for that. You'll see the application was completed and signed by Michelle Johnson, and then I've been working with Amert Construction, as I understand is going to be their contractor on this. So I would recommend approval of this application.
Is there going to be a retaining wall on the east end of that?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
There's a grassy area between those, so they're not, the grades, I can't tell you if it's going to be exactly the same graded. I suspect it's going to be nearly what you see out there now. But the retaining wall would only be necessary, perhaps if they're excavating more or pushing their parking right up to the property line. But there's a little grass buffer that I'm observing in this drawing here, so.
Okay.
And I think in the discussion that I had, in that they're going to, work with the surface area so that it drains the water to the drain.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we authorize mayor to sign application permit to occupy right-of-ways, River Federal Credit Union, Southeast 2nd Street, Hart Avenue.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 9, authorize the mayor to sign change order number 1, Prunty Construction Company, West Center Street Reconstruction Project, Highland Avenue to Blanche Avenue. And I'm going to ask Chad to address this one also.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor and Commission. Included in your agenda packet is change order 1 for this project. There was concrete surfacing under the roadway, Center Street, from Josephine to Highland Avenue. We were not 100% sure if that was there or not. Ends up it was there. Even some of the soil borings we had done before the project hadn't noted that it was a concrete surface. I suspect because it was so old, perhaps it was pulverized during the process of collecting the borings. But regardless, there's a process, a separate removal process that the contractor has to go through for removal and disposal of that. Reineke is the subcontractor on that. He's given his price to Prunty Construction and has passed it along to us. We believe this is a reasonable price for the amount of work involved. We established at $2.42 per square yard. Any adjustments up or down will be based upon any dimension changes, what we actually see out there in the field. The increase for the concrete pavement removal in contract price is just under $22,500. To be exact, $22,489.06. But again, those will go up and down based upon the number of square yards removed. Related to that, anticipating that there was only granular material underneath the asphalt surfacing, now there's concrete, so that'll be removed under this item 18A referenced in the change order. So then there's less volume of earth excavation to be removed, and that's why you see a decrease with item number 28 listed in the agenda, a decrease of the unclassified excavation. And so that is a deduct of $5,681.50. And so the net from these two items is an increase, proposed increase of $16,807.56 for this change order. I would recommend approval. The contractor has signed it.
Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion, we authorize mayor to sign change order number 1, Prunty Construction Company for the West Center Street Reconstruction Project, Highland Avenue to Blanche Avenue.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 10, authorize the mayor to sign the acknowledgement with Prostrollo Motor Company on the 2018 Dodge Charger safety recall. And on this one here, and that, our new 2018 Dodge Charger arrived. We took possession of it, and the paperwork was filed on a following day, the same day that they issued a recall, and so Prostrollos was told that they should hold the vehicle, but we already had possession of it. So David has looked at this and that, and this here is basically in that protecting them from a fine from Chrysler Corporation for having released the vehicle. But we had taken the vehicle ahead of time before the paperwork went to change, and the day that the paperwork was filed with Chrysler was the same day that they put the recall. The recall is also on our 2015 Charger, which has 83,000 miles on it, the same exact recall. So this here is an agreement in that between the city and Prostrollos, and that we have taken the vehicle and that, and we have it in possession. Anything you want to add, Jen or Chad?
No. lots of
Okay.
communication here. Mr.
Yes.
Jenks, Mayor was involved, Justin was involved. We pulled in insurance companies, made sure we were covered where we needed to be covered.
And everyone is comfortable with this, so.
I'll make a motion to authorize mayor to sign the acknowledgement with Prostrella Motor Company on the 2018 Dodge Charger safety recall.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. An announcement, change in meeting date from Monday, May 28th to Tuesday, May 29th because of Memorial Day, and then I believe you had an announcement you were going to make.
Tonight, we have a Madison resident who is vying for Miss USA. Local Madison, Madison Knight from Madison, South Dakota is currently Miss South Dakota, and she's, I think it maybe starts about 7 o'clock, so I mean, she might already be on stage preparing. So we want to just wish her luck. It's always fun to see local people in our community do things on a national level. So wish Maddie good luck. It's on NBC Live, maybe in 10 minutes. Thank you, Mayor.
All right.
Fox.
With that,
Is it on Fox?
with that, seeing no executive session, do we have a motion
I'll
to
make a
adjourn?
motion, we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You get